Okay, in the last video we discussed how semaphore technique solved the problem of shared data between two different tasks, but there are some problems which are associated with using this semaphore technique also. So, we will just discuss a few points regarding that one. So, what are the disadvantages? Let me say in disadvantage only of using this semaphore technique. One thing is that actually, of course, semaphore actually solves the problem of the shared data. But thing is that actually if the task doesn't take the semaphore only, if the programmer who is going to write, if it doesn't take the semaphore only, if he is not going to take the semaphore, then what happens is that the shared data problem obviously it crops up again, isn't it? So, what do you mean by that one? In a sense, like whenever okay, you have different tasks, okay, so maybe you had like T1 task, you had T2 task, you have T3 tasks, you have different tasks like that way. So, one task actually takes the semaphore and releases the semaphore, okay. Another task takes the semaphore and releases the semaphore, which is having access towards the same shared data variable, and this data variable that is shared between this task and this task T1, T2, T3. Now, but you forget to write this take semaphore and the release semaphore for this T3 task. Now, what happens? Whenever actually this has taken the semaphore, release the semaphore, but you forgot to write for T3. Now, T3 will definitely have an access towards the shared data variable. So, a programmer certain times actually, because when you write a lengthy program, you may forget to take the semaphore as well as they release the semaphore. That is why it has been written here. Forgetting to take the semaphore and as well as forgetting to release the semaphore. So, all the tasks you have, the programmer has to bear in mind, means not only one task. So, because that data variable could be shared between many tasks, and what all tasks have an access towards the shared data variable, or like when the program is running, the programmer has to know in advance what all tasks are going to have an access towards that variable, and keeping that in the mind, the programmer has to write, take the semaphore function as well as release the semaphore function for all the different tasks here. Not only one task he has to write, for all the tasks he has to write it. So, in one case two cases he writes it, but in third case he just forgets it. That will not be good. So, that will not solve the problem of shared data that we had it earlier. So, again the miscalculations of the values will result, of course, that will happen. So, that is what programmer needs to take care of that one. He has to write this take semaphore function as well release semaphore function for each task around the data variable which is going to share between different tasks. Now, of course, this is third one that you have, that will happen with respect to we call this one as multiple semaphores. Last video we just discussed about the binary semaphore. You can have like a multiple semaphore. What is multiple semaphore? Of course, using multiple semaphore is advantageous. Okay, see, for example, you have semaphore A, semaphore B, semaphore C, semaphore D. You can go on like that way. Why is it that important? See, there are many tasks, T1 task and T2 task. Okay. In this T1 task, you have written a program. Maybe one thing, there is updation of the temperature. Okay, temperature. Maybe something, there is updation of the pressure. There is something updation of the volume. We cannot repeat. Just will take it only two cases: temperature and the pressure. You make sure semaphore A is allotted to temperature. Okay, maybe temperature T is shared between T1, T2. Maybe there is one more task, T3 task. Okay. Now, temperature T is shared between T1 and the T2, and temperature and the pressure, they are written in only one function, calculation function, that is calculation function. I will call this one. Now, temperature T is also calculated in the same function, pressure P is also calculated in the same function. Now, what you do, if only one semaphore is allotted, you write take semaphore and release semaphore. These two calculations are written between take semaphore and the release semaphore in the calculation function. Now, what happens? T1, which wants to have an access towards the shared variable, that is T temperature, which is shared between T1 and the T2 task. Now, that is fine with respect to that one. Whereas T3, which does not want the temperature variable, but it wants only pressure variable. and this pressure variable is also kept along with the temperature variable between take semaphore and release function of the calculation function. Now what happens when T1 has taken, now assume that T1 has taken the semaphore in trying to have an access towards the variable, that is T variable, but it does not need a P. It took the semaphore because T and P are kept inside the calculation function. Okay. Now see, as written here, take semaphore, release semaphore, and T and P are kept between these two things. Now it takes a semaphore. Now what happens in this case is that obviously T2 can't access. Now T3 also can't have an access towards this calculation function. Why it can't have an access towards a calculation function? Because who has taken the calculation function by taking semaphore and the release semaphore? Who is having that key? If you had used only binary semaphore, only one semaphore, that is, of course binary means that is take and release functions, you have take semaphore function, release semaphore function, but it is called only one semaphore. Okay. So now T1 task is has taken that semaphore key. Now T3 task, which didn't require the temperature values, but it required only pressure values. Now it has to wait until T1 releases the semaphore. Okay, that was because there was only one semaphore. You have only one key. Okay, when you have only one key, that one key that is protected between T and P calculations. Okay, so that even though T3 didn't need that one, it had to wait for the T1 to release the semaphore so that T3 could access the pressure values. Now instead of that one, if you had used multiple semaphores, same calculation functions, but what you do is that, now what you do, same calculation function, but instead of now what you do, A is allotted. Now A semaphore A in, okay, let me say take semaphore A. Now what you do, you calculate temperature, now release semaphore A. Similarly, you have take semaphore B. Now pressure calculation, release semaphore B. Now these two are written inside the calculation function only, same as that one, but you are using multiple semaphores, that is semaphore A and semaphore B. Now what happens is that, say in this case T1 which wants to have an access towards temperature variable which does not need pressure variable. Now what it does, it will take semaphore A. Now T3 which wants pressure, now it does not have to wait for release of semaphore A here, because which key it will take it? It will take semaphore B key, because it wants to have an access towards the pressure variable. So by using this multiple semaphore techniques, now T3 does not have to wait for the release of semaphore A, because anyhow semaphore B key is free here. So okay, semaphore B key is free, it will just take that semaphore B key and then access this pressure variable, whatever the task it has to do, it will do it. Now T3 didn't have to wait for T1 here. So that is how multiple semaphores will have advantages. Now what is that we are discussing is that in order to now it actually tries to take the wrong semaphore. Now what happens here is that, okay, sorry for the interruption. Okay, what we were discussing, like this multiple semaphore will solve this problem of different variables getting shared here. Now okay, now what happens is that taking the wrong semaphore. Now what happens, T1, the programmer has to know what variable, which task wants it. Now T1 instead of taking temperature, assume that it took the semaphore B key. Now semaphore, now let me take it. Now semaphore A key is available, semaphore A key is available, semaphore B key is available. Now T1 instead of taking semaphore A key, it took semaphore B key, and semaphore B key, okay, now taking the wrong semaphore. Now semaphore B key is taken, now it does not want access towards the P is locked here. Now T3 which wanted to take semaphore B, not to calculate the P, that in order to take the P value, now it will not have an access towards the P value. Why? Because this P variable, that is by taking the semaphore B by T1 task will have an access towards this one. Now T3 has to wait for T1 until T1 releases the semaphore B here. So this is one disadvantage that you have in the case of multiple semaphores. You just have to make sure that right semaphore is taken by right task. If any of the another semaphore is taken by the task instead of taking right semaphore, then it will result in the wastage of resources, that is time, because T3 in this case T3 had wait for the release of the semaphore B by the T1. Of course, with T1 didn't require that one, so programmer has to make sure that whenever he writes in what variable is shared between different tasks and what semaphore key has to be taken by which particular task, those all things he has to take care of that one. So whenever a wrong semaphore is taken, this will result in wrong calculation. Now, of course, we will just discuss the another few points. Now what do we have here? Now you just hold the semaphore for too long. Okay, this is very simple. Whenever any person actually holds a semaphore for too long, he just actually takes it. Now obviously we know that actually then the another task which wanted to have an access towards that particular variable, it will not have an access, because it has to keep on waiting until another task finally it releases the semaphore. So until that finally the task releases the semaphore, the person has to keep on waiting for that task. Only that task after it releases the semaphore, so that will be held. Though that task which was waiting, so that will be, the waiting time will be over. So that waiting time depends on how long the semaphore is held by the particular task. So the time is killed here. So of course time is killed in a sense, more time is taken here. So it's a wastage of resource also. So that is one disadvantage that you have with respect to semaphore. Now the last one that you have, the priority inversion. We'll just discuss in the next slide with the more detail of this priority inversion. Okay, this is what you have, priority inversion. So let me take one. Okay, so there are three tasks here: TA, TB, another one is TC. So TA, TB, TC. Now what do you have TA? So what is TA is the highest priority. What I am going to write H here. TB is going to have the middle priority. TC is going to have the low priority. Now imagine actually TC. Since it is having the low priority, okay, it is first, and task TB and TA, they both are actually, earlier it was blocked, or both were blocked, they were waiting for certain action or certain event. So TC was free, and RT was keeps TC in the running state. So it keeps TC in the running state. So now it takes that one. Imagine actually it is going to take a semaphore. Yes, okay, there is only one semaphore. So the TC is going to take hold of the semaphore. Now what happens? That is what has been written here. Task C, this timeline, this is the timeline that you have. In this timeline, task C takes a semaphore that it shares with the task K. Now of course whenever it takes semaphore, some variable, actually some V variable, that is that TA also wants to have an access towards the V variable. Now this semaphore who is having access now, since both are actually blocked, some event something it was waiting. Okay, let us take that one. Now semaphore is taken by task C. Now after that one, after some time, now task B comes. Task B, whose priority is more than the task C, but it doesn't want this variable. It doesn't want this variable. Definitely task B, obviously task B is having high priority than the task C. Task B will definitely preempt the task C. Task B will preempt the task C, because task B is having high priority than the task C. When task B actually preempts the task C, now what happens here is that task gets preempted, task B goes into the running state, task B keeps on getting executed. Now task B, first initially task C, then task B takes the precedence because it is having higher priority than the task C, and it doesn't want to have an access towards the shared variable also. It can preempt in any way also, but even though it wants to have an access towards a variable, it can definitely preempt the task C, there is no doubt in that one. But when it comes to accessing this shared data variable, since semaphore is held by the task C, then it will not be allowed. Okay, that you keep it in the mind. Now since anyhow it doesn't want any of the access towards a variable and whose priority TB is higher than the TC, so task B will preempt the task C. Now it comes here. Now in this next case, actually what happens is that task K, now it unblocks, maybe some event occurred, so task K unblocks, and task K priority is higher than the task B priority. Now task K again preempts task B. Why? because task A priority is highest here. So task A, that is what, in this case, see, task B gets message in its queue and unblocks, RTO switches to task B. Now task A gets message in its queue and unblocks, and RTO switches to task A. Now task A will be running because this priority is highest here. Okay, so task A has to be given more precedence. Now task A keeps on getting executed. There is no issue in that one. When, okay, this is important. Task A tries to take the semaphore that task C has already taken. Now task A wants to have an access towards this variable V, and this variable is shared between task A and task C. But who had this semaphore key? Task C had it. Now what happens is that since this key is held by task C, now what happens? Task A, it tries to take the semaphore that task C had already taken. Now it is not possible. Now task A goes into the blocking state. It gets blocked by the it goes to the blocking state. Scheduler puts the task A in the blocking state. Now RTOS, who was now this, when it is kept in the blocking state, just sees that one among TB and the TC, who is having high priority? TB is having high priority. Now TB is released from ready state. It went to ready state because task A preempted TB. Now TA goes to the blocking state. Now TB comes from the ready state to the running state. Now TB again starts running. TB again starts running. Of course, it goes to running state, that is put by the scheduler, and RTOS starts executing the instructions that are there in the TB task. Now task A tries to take the semaphore that task C has already taken. It is not possible. Now what happens? Task B is in the running state, task A is in the block state, and what is task C doing? Task C, where it is kept here, it was actually, where was task C? Task C, now definitely actually it is in the ready state here. Okay, let me write R only, that is fine. Okay, task C is in the ready state, task B is in the running state, task A is in the block state. Now what happens? This get blocked because it is waiting for release of semaphore S by task C. Task C went into the of course it was earlier in the ready state only because it was preempted by the task B. Now task B, which was preempted by task A, earlier it was in the ready state, task A was the running state, but task A goes in the block state because your task A wanted to have an access towards semaphore S, which was taken by task C. Now task C is the ready state, task A is in the block state. Now task B is in the, again comes back to running state. Why it comes back to running state? I am just repeating the statements what I had said earlier. Now task B comes to running state because task A goes to the block state. Why did it go to the block state? Because it wanted to have an access towards the variable, but that variable which was protected by the take semaphore S, the semaphore key, and that was being held by task C. Let's observe the beauty of this semaphore problem, how it causes now. Now task again goes to the block state. Now RTOS just sees that one, which all tasks can be put up in the running state. Sorry, scheduler actually sees that one, which all tasks can be put up. Now it sees that actually since task A is blocked, it wants to have an access towards variable, which is the semaphore is held by task C. Now among task B and the task C, who is having high priority? Task B is definitely having high priority, so task B starts getting executed. It is put up in the running state. Scheduler puts task B in the running state and RTOS starts executing that one. Now task B keeps on running, that is what it is given here. Task B goes on running and never giving task C a chance to release the semaphore. Task A is blocked. Why? Because on task B, whatever, if the program, if the instructions are very lengthy, task B keeps on getting executed. This is what we say priority inversion. Why priority inversion? Even though task A is having the high priority, task B is having the low priority than the task A, task B will have a chance to get its instruction executed, and task A has to wait for task B, then task B, after completion of the task B, then task B gets over, then semaphore S will be, who is having semaphore S here? Task C is having semaphore. Here only priority inversion happened here. You can just observe here. Task A, which was having high priority, it went into the block state, and task B, which was having low priority than the task A, it is getting executed here because of the semaphore here, because of the semaphore S only. Okay, and semaphore S is held by task C. After task B finishes its instructions, whatever the instructions are there in task B, who will have an access towards uh, okay, which task gets executed? It is not task A after task B finishes. Why? After this time also, after task B finishes, task C, until it releases the semaphore, because it has come to a point, okay, after it has come to a point where it wants its variable. Task A, it has come to a point where it wants its variable. Now task C has to keep on, task A has to keep on waiting for task C, because task C is holding that semaphore S here. Now task C, after it releases the semaphore, so after it releases the semaphore here, then only task A will be task A will have an access towards that variable. So when will it release semaphore? When task B gets over, then task C comes here. Task C actually completes this instructions, because semaphore S is held by task C. Then task C releases semaphore. Let's write right here. After task B completes, task C is given precedence, because that is having the semaphore. Now task C is having semaphore. Task C, until it releases the semaphore, it completes this instruction, it releases the semaphore. After it releases the semaphore, then task A will be given precedence. You can just observe here. Though task A is having high priority, it has to wait for the low priority task B as well as the least priority task C for completion, then only task A will be completed. So this is what is priority inversion. That is, of course, it's written here. Task B goes on running and running, never giving task C a chance to release the semaphore. Task A is blocked. So after task B completes, task C will have a chance to release semaphore, because task C, when your task B gets over, so task C, which was holding semaphore, it gets a chance to release the semaphore. After task C releases the semaphore, then task A is taken. So this is what is priority inversion, where task A had to wait for task B and task A, because there is a inversion of the priority. Even though task A is having high priority, it waits for the low priority. But according to priority, task A should have completed first. Okay, because of the semaphore technique, now task B is getting completed. After that one, task C is getting completed. So there is an inversion of the priority, isn't it? So that is what we say priority inversion, which is one of the disadvantage you have it. This is, you have to face it when you have the semaphore problem. Of course, RTOS has some other techniques, what we call priority inheritance. Priority inheritance means, what this does, RTOS does is that whenever actually task C holds the semaphore, when at this point only, task A comes to know that it wants to, RTOS comes to know that task A tries to have an access towards the shared variable, and it wants to have it wants to take the semaphore S, but the semaphore S is held by which variable? Task C. So then what the RTOS does is that task C is raised to the highest priority. Okay, so that is beyond the scope of our syllabus, not required for us. When task C is raised to high priority, then task C completes. After task, of course, it doesn't have to wait for any other completion. Whenever it releases semaphore, even though some other instructions are there in this task C, task A will not give chance for task C. When it releases semaphore, suddenly task A, RTOS allots the task to the task A, and then it completes that one. Of course, it depends on how we write the program. Certain times actually after it releases the releases semaphore also, maybe RTOS actually since task C the priority is raised, the task C is completed. In that way also it can be done. Task C is completed, then task A is taken. Okay, then it lowers its priority, then task A is taken, task A completes, but task A doesn't have to wait for task B. That is priority inheritance. What we call, let me say for that one statement is priority inheritance. Priority inheritance is used to solve the priority inversion. That is what we say, priority inheritance. What is priority inheritance? In crude way, low priority task is raised to high priority. A priority, the priority of the, okay, the low priority task is raised to high priority, so in that way it is solved, but that is not required for us. Okay, so we are just discussing about what all problems that we have it. by using the semaphore technique. Okay, so this is what you have it with respect to the semaphore problems topic. Okay, so this is fine with respect to the semaphore problems. I hope all of you understood this one. Okay, thank you.